Okay, Trump 24 or before. What does that mean to you?
He's already president. He's already president. He's our president.
Meaning Donald Trump is president now.
He's president now. I believe he is.
But how would that work? Because Joe Biden has been the president,
No,
right? Is
Obama's
the
been the president. Obama said that he would like to run a third term if he could sit in his basement and call the shots, and that's exactly what he's doing.
But you just said that it's Obama's third term, but also that Trump is president.
He's calling the shots of all this mess that's going on right now and all the disasters that he's caused. Yeah,
But how is Obama calling the shots if Trump is still president?
Obama is sitting back and telling Biden what to do.
But what is Biden if he's not the president?
He's a bumbling fool right now.
But why would it matter if Obama was telling Biden what to do if Biden's not president?
Say that again.
Why would it matter if Obama was telling Biden what to do if Biden wasn't president? Okay, Trump 24 or
Just can't comprehend. Can't comprehend. Oh gosh. Super Tuesday, of course, is behind us now. We're gonna talk about that. Got a lot to say about that. Facebook and Instagram went down. Maybe that's the big news of the day, and everybody flipped out. We're gonna talk about that this morning. Can't have Facebook and Instagram, especially Instagram going down, right? The New York Times is facing growing criticism over what many on both sides of the aisle says this obsessive coverage of Donald Trump and the obsessive coverage of Joe Biden's age, apparently trying to influence voters against President Biden. The gray lady has fallen big time. And in St. Louis, a news anchor has referred to Black folks as colored. How do y'all feel about that? We're going to talk about that this morning. And HUD is making $10 million available to support new home buyers and help bridge the wealth gap that continues to widen. And good news for fans of Sinbad, the legendary comic and actor. He is back after a debilitating stroke a couple of years ago. Sinbad has emerged, making an appearance during a reunion of A Different World. We'll talk about that this morning as well. But the biggest news, I'm told, before I went on air, I was told the huge piece of breaking news that everyone should brace themselves for. Starbucks has released its newest coffee, Oleato Coffee. Now, it's available now in the US and Canada. So I don't really get it. I like Starbucks. I like the strong coffee, whatever, in my grande cup. But I don't get this Oleato coffee. It rolled out last February in Italy. It pairs coffee with a spoonful of extra virgin olive oil. So y'all gotta educate me on that. Maybe Greer educate me on that because I just don't see them mixed. I like hot chocolate and coffee mixed together. That's what I call my cappuccino. But extra virgin olive oil and coffee. Starbucks, they charge you like $50 for a cup of coffee anyway. So you might as well get some extra virgin olive oil and maybe they'll put a side of spaghetti on there too. I don't know. Angela Connolly says it sounds like a good bathroom move. Who knows? But whew, Mike V is absolutely right. Responding to the video that Greer graciously displayed this morning. She says, first of all, Angela Connolly, she let me before I say what Mike V wrote. Angela says, and you wonder why I smoke. No, that will make you drink if you look at that long enough. Two words. Mike V says, mental health and political literacy, which that woman, when literacy is never anywhere near her vocabulary, and mental health. And that's the obsession, right? That Trump has fostered. It is clearly, come on, y'all, clearly the Jim Jones thing. And there's no disrespect to the family members of the victims of Jim Jones, but it's clearly the Jim Jones effect. They have drank the Kool-Aid, they got poisoned, they tried to recover from the poison a little bit and said, "Give me some more poison, Trump." They keep drinking that Kool-Aid. Super Tuesday, of course, the president and the twice impeached, 4 times indicted sexually assaulter, who they found guilty of sexually assault. I can say that. Horrible businessman, 500 million in debt to New York now. He and Biden took major steps toward making their rematch inevitable. It is inevitable now. Nikki Haley just this morning said she's out. Now, she did not say she was not going to endorse Donald Trump. See, I'm gonna say a little different than what everyone else is saying. Everyone else is saying she didn't say that she was going to endorse Donald Trump. That's what they say. I'm saying she didn't say she was not going to endorse Donald Trump. She says he's going to have to earn her and others' votes. No, that's not true. Come on, that's not true. You saw that lady at the top of the broadcast. They are voting against Ghost. that's that's there you have it. She says that Trump is the real president. He's really the president. But Biden is a bumbling fool taking orders from Obama, who is secretly running his third term. So which one is it? Who's president to that lady? Biden, Trump, or Obama? Or is it that three-headed monster that she sees every day when she wakes up? But it's unreal. So they both, Trump and Obama. Obama. See, she got me saying Obama won. He keeps winning in Trump's head. That's why. That's why you see what you see. But Obama and Biden with Super Tuesday wins. More than a dozen states, of course, held their primaries or caucuses. It's the biggest day in the campaign, and they both saw familiar signs of potential weakness for the general election because progressives in places like Minneapolis and Minnesota, they cast ballots for uncommitted rather than Joe Biden. And they got a lot of uncommitted votes, which the Biden campaign has come out and said that is really a good sign, more of a good sign than it is a bad sign. And so what this uncommitted is about, just for those who may not know, they want Biden to take a firmer stance in calling for a ceasefire. And if you haven't noticed, the White House has ramped up calls for a ceasefire with Kamala Harris, the vice president, leading the charge. So he is indeed giving them what they are demanding. So perhaps those tens of thousands of uncommitted, those who voted uncommitted, will um, shift to Biden. One thing they're not doing, at least what it appears they're not doing, is swinging to the other side. So that is, the polls you can't. The only polls that matter is when folks cast their ballots and they're counted, not some CNN, ABC News, New York Times, Siena poll news. That's not news. That's just something to bide the time and keep people talking about the election. I mean, because they survey, they go into these unidentified, undisclosed places and just pick random, mostly white folks and say who you voting for and why, and they get about 1,000 of them at best. Sometimes it's less than 1,000 people, and they say, 80% of the people say that Biden's in trouble. More than 150 million people cast their votes in the presidential election in 2020, and they getting sample size of 1,000. So no, the polls are not to be counted on at all. It's just fodder. That's all. That is all they are. And so, as we mentioned earlier, Nikki Haley's dropping out, and also from Super Tuesday, Kristen Cinema. Who's going to shed a tear for her? The traitor, now without a home, without a party, announced that after all the damage she's done to her party, and by extension to Black and people of color, because she joined uh, Broadway Joe from West Virginia and blocking critical pieces of legislation when Democrats had control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. She's not seeking reelection in Arizona. And I'm sure you remember Robin Roberts when Amoroso uh, put out some statement or whatever after she was unceremoniously dumped by Trump. He says, "Bye, Felicia." And I'm sure there's a collective "Bye, Felicia" among Democrats in the House. And Power 96 is right. If Nikki now supports Trump, she's no different than Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio. And he says good riddance to Kirsten Cinema Kristen. However, he wrote her name different ways too. I say it and spell it different ways as well. Power 96, don't feel bad. It's not important. Her name is not important. In California, a former baseball star with the Dodgers and San Diego Padres and who turned MAGA lover, Steve Garvey, joined Democrat Adam Schiff as the top two vote getters in the race for Dianne Feinstein's Senate seat. And now the two are going to square off in the fall. Steve Garvey beat two Democratic Congresswomen, Reps Katie Porter and the popular, at least she's popular on Capitol Hill, Barbara Lee, to secure a place on the ballot despite raising a fraction of what his opponents did and airing. Steve Garvey aired no TV ads at all. In the final weeks of the campaign, Adam Schiff and his allies spent millions of dollars on ads attacking Steve Garvey as, quote, too conservative for California. It was a move, though, that apparently they designed to boost Republican turnout. Um, But Garvey, he had raised only like $2 million compared to Adam Schiff's 31 million. Garvey didn't spend any money on television ads, and some progressives had argued that by encouraging more Republicans to vote, Adam Schiff's strategy would inadvertently lead to higher GOP turnout in down ballot races. Um, Adam Schiff seemed to have calculated that the MAGA faction is not too much of a threat in California. Um, Porter said that the strategy that Adam Schiff put in place was brazenly cynical, and she accused Schiff of misrepresenting how conservative Steve Garvey is. He voted twice for Donald Trump, and now he claims, though, that he's left the door open to voting for Biden in the fall. Obviously, that was just campaign speak because again, um, California sees a little bit less of the whole MAGA craze as the rest of us. But Super Tuesday again says the thing is with this inevitable rematch between Biden and Trump is this as simple as this. You got this dude who is and Angela says she's in San Diego right now, and all the vehicles are marked Trump. Yeah, and that's to be expected. I'm sure if you go on another side of town, they'll be marked Biden. It's Super Tuesday, which is yesterday. But the thing about it is, you got this guy. What makes somebody? And I guess we got the answer at the top of the show. What makes someone uh, vote for Donald Trump? And again, I say it 1,000 times. If I've said it 1,000 times, I've said it a million. I cover politics, and that's about it. And stuff like this only reaffirms why I just cover it. What makes you vote for that guy? Even those who, and I'm not talking about, people who are just normal people. I'm talking about anybody. Because even the boneheads, the racists, and the people like we saw that lady earlier out of her Stark Raven, just clueless. What even those who support him, he does not support you. And then America is a nation that has like dementia. It's a demented nation in in a sense, in the political sense, because they forget or put out of their mind somehow the havoc, the sheer havoc that Trump caused in his 4 years, and they also forget that the danger he placed he put the country in the hands of Vladimir Putin. He put the hands in. You remember when the journalists over there in the Middle East, and I believe it was Saudi Arabia, was kidnapped and killed. Trump put everybody in harm's way. According to the Congress investigation team, sold secrets. The president of the United States. This is not a CIA operative or a spy, if you will. This guy sold, according to a House investigation, traded favors with foreign entities, and these are not allies we're talking about. Not that that would make it right, but these are long-time staunch enemies. And we saw so many people, and again, those who support him saw massive loss of lives because of the way he totally mishandled COVID-19. Yeah, Mike B. Jamal was the journalist. Um, we saw him align himself with the Charlottesville skinheads. We saw him align himself with um, KKK members, literally. But once again, though, we saw supporters lose their lives because of him. We see a bunch of supporters in prison because of January 6th because of him. And it's nice for them, I'm sure. He tickles their ears by saying stuff like they're hostages, whatever. They're still doing the time. And certainly if he gets in, certainly he may very well let them out. But they would have already done, in many cases, at least a couple of years in prison. Is that worth this guy enriching himself? He's not enriching you. That's the mind-boggling thing. Yes. Um, people will say in their minds anyway, it's like we got only two choices. It's the lesser of two evils. What I love the line that a Democrat said last week. He said, "This is not about the lesser of two evils. This is far from it. This is about somebody who is hateful, all about themselves, doesn't even like those who support him. Ask Herman Cain's family. That dude, Herman Cain, black guy, blacks for Trump, went all out. He had his own business, successful businessman, everything, millionaire, bent over, frontwards and backwards for Trump, on his knees for Trump, killed over and died because he was at a Trump rally, a super spreader event that he got COVID-19. And not till this day, 4 years ago, Trump has not publicly mentioned that man. Not one time. I dare anyone to find footage where he's publicly mentioned Herman Cain. I challenge, not dare, challenge you. Mike V says hope and change had some folks doing the electric slide temporarily, but you didn't see folks trying to stop democracy to keep Obama in office for a third term. And it's interesting that he says that. And here's why it's interesting. If y'all remember 9/11, we all remember 9/11. Rudy, out of his mind, Giuliani, tried to kick up the same dust storm to stay in office. And all he did, after totally annihilating the great city of New York while he was mayor, totally tearing it apart. All he when the planes hit the towers, after the dust cleared a little bit, Rudy visited the site, and he's America's mayor. hmm Dr. Nicole says it's not about Trump. As long as he is allowed on that ballot, they will vote for him. It's all about what he represents for them and their plans for this country. And again, another hot button issue. We talked about it yesterday. Why is he allowed? See, you can't let a kid go to school, disrupt the class, start bullying people and picking on them and getting suspended and all that. And he comes home, gets suspended. He's on suspension for 30 days. He comes home, and the parent says, let's go to Disneyland. Why is he allowed on the ballot? Because that's essentially what the Supreme Court, the states, I heard what the Representative Ron Reynolds said yesterday. I heard what the attorney said yesterday, Darrell Porter. You can't, it should not be allowed. Heck, listen, let's go by former New York District Attorney Cyrus Vance's reasoning, which still hurts my stomach, who said that just a mere allegation should be enough for a conviction. Well, if that's the case, Trump has 91 felony counts that could lead him to prison for 800 plus years. So why is he on the ballot? To Dr. Nicole's point, this is where we at. This is where we
And
at.
research. Just don't hear speculation.
Do you know Mike Lindell?
Yes.
And do you
I
like
love
him?
the man to death, but I'm so sick of seeing his commercials.
Oh, right. Okay. So one of the things, he's a good example to me of this phenomenon that I see a lot in what would be called conspiracy theorist circles, is making a bold prediction. Trump's going to become president by this period of time. It doesn't happen. And then I get confused because the followers don't stop trusting him. Mike Lindell has predicted just around the corner Trump's going to be by this August, whatever, then this, and it hasn't happened.
I agree.
And why doesn't that cause you not to support them and think, oh, maybe what they're selling me is dishonest?
Things have, they have channels they have to go through, and things have to happen in certain way to happen. So, all right, I'm sorry, on the spot. Do your own research.
Do your own research. This is if people would follow their own advice, it's unbelievable. But that's what's on the ballot. It's Biden versus Trump again, 2024. So Nikki Haley, you can expect. I do expect it. I do expect her to endorse Donald Trump. She needs a place. She doesn't want to be a Kirsten or Kristen Cinema. She needs a place to rest her head, and she's she's betrayed the Democrats. More importantly, she's betrayed her constituents out there in Arizona, so she has no home. And Power 96 says, remember those MAGA Billy cult members, they vote in all elections. Of course they do. It's like going to the Klan rally for them. So everybody got a little bit of scare yesterday. I saw even celebrities tweeting, "Oh man, I thought I was hacked." So if you were kicked out of Facebook or Instagram, while you were scrolling yesterday, you were not alone and you were not hacked. Meta's platforms had problems, um, and it kept saying failure to load and giving error pages. It kept going back to sign in pages. Down Detector reported over 461,000 outages by 10:37 a.m. And that was the peak of the outage. Instagram had over 70,000 reported outages at the peak. And apps, of course, were also affected. They refused to reload and they just kicked users out. And in a statement, Meta says earlier today, meaning yesterday, issue caused people to have difficulty accessing some of our services. We resolved the issue as quickly as possible for everyone who was impacted, and we apologize for any inconvenience. Folks was like panicking. They were going to Twitter and threads and threads. They couldn't get on threads. They're like, what's going on? What's happening here? I can't go and spew any hate online right now. This is not good. I can't go and envy somebody else's life. That's not good. So Facebook, Zuckerberg somewhere out and still at the wedding in India, and he's like, "Hey, hold my beer." Yeah, I'll do something out there. Oh boy. So you survived. You survived. So now people should wear those shirts. I survived the Facebook and Instagram meltdown. And speaking of melting down, the New York Times has totally become a shell of its old great self. It used to be the standard of journalism. Now it's just disintegrated into like what many in mainstream media have become, just a propaganda machine looking to incite people. And now the old gray lady, as it was called, has for several weeks. They're being called out now because for several weeks, more than a couple of months, really, they've been in the crosshairs of a vocal set of critics and readers who believe that Donald Trump poses a grave threat to American democracy and that the influential news organization is is not adequate, adequately conveying those stakes to the public. More than that, the criticism has spilled over to more that they are actually supporting Trump with each passing day, taking a shot almost daily now at Joe Biden's age. Um, they have in the views of critics, I should say, the Times have been far too distracted with the age, allowing it to steal away attention from the larger and far more serious dangers posed by a second Trump administration. Critics have also argued that the Times covers Biden and Trump with disproportionate standards, placing false equivalencies on issues surrounding Biden to those of the former president. The latest salvo is that the Times they published a poll that it conducted with Siena College, their favorite college, that found a majority of Biden voters believe he is too old to be an effective president. That poll resulted in a torrent of angry responses and commentary, with some readers even saying, even their readers saying, wait a minute, we're going to cancel our subscription because this is ridiculous. They've even asked the question that, okay, why aren't there any polls about Trump's competency? Why aren't there any polls about whether Trump is too dangerous? One reader said, did you ask your random voters whether Trump is too insane, too racist, too sexist, too criminal, too hateful to be effective as president? They said, this is not, one reader said, this is not a poll, it is your agenda. Look, these complaints, you can't argue against these complaints. They are very valid. And they also point out it's not just the New York Times. They have pointed out that CNN and MSNBC, for the most part, aside from Joy Reid, can't even seem to arrive at a firm policy over how to cover Donald Trump and his remarks. So this is mainstream media looking at their ratings, their readership, and saying more MAGA folks are paying attention. So let's play to them. We can make money off them. And if Trump becomes president, it's even they're calculating that's going to be even more money. It's not journalism. It's a shame that this is what it has come to. That's why you have, and I'll drink to that, the black press. Neither fear nor favor, y'all. Right here, the black press of America. Particularly right here, let it be known. We try to just give it to you, the way it is. Neat. No rocks. That's how I like my scotch. And speaking of mainstream, a St. Louis news station is forced to apologize after facing some enormous backlash for describing minority homeowners as, quote, colored during a February 26th evening newscast. KMOV First to Late 4 anchor referred to folks as colored while he teased a story about black homeowners, I should say, and real estate appraisals. The anchor then went on to issue an apology on the air the following day. He says, last night at this time, I read an outdated racial term on air during a story. The word should have never come out of my mouth. And it does not reflect who I am or what First Alert 4 represents. That was Corey Stark, the anchor. He says it was unacceptable, and we are meeting with community members as we strive to do better every day. These apologies really start to get on my nerves. We strive to do better every day. We are meeting with the community, et cetera, et cetera. It's pretty much um, the PR version of the apology all the time. All the time. I heard you, and I'm gonna do better. All it is, oh my gosh, my job is on the line. I better say something. Come on, write me something to say. R96 is a white female Mississippi journalist told her viewers to gas your mammy on air. The National Association of Black Journalists released a statement saying that it is upsetting that such a slur would make it to the air. The term is outdated, offensive, and racist. We are concerned that no one in the KMOV newsroom caught this error, and we question KMOV's editorial process when it comes to cultural awareness. Given that St. Louis is 43% Black and the city is no stranger to racial strife, we would hope KMOV would be more sensitive in how it covers the Black community. NABJ says that the company needs to retrain its employees on DE and I issues. Mm. Oh, to act your mammy. I think gas your mammy. Goodness grief. And that's a great statement from NABJ, because if you ever been in a news studio like that, they have the teleprompter and they have producers and they have directors feeding the teleprompter. Most of what you hear from the newscast is not written by the anchor. The anchor will ad lib at times, but most of that is done. They have writers And so that it goes through many eyes. And the fact that it got that far to the teleprompter is troubling. And the fact that he saw it on the teleprompter. Look, I write stuff sometimes and I look at it, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say that word, even though I wrote it, I'm going to change that word when I get a chance. I mean, and it's not like the spur of the moment type thing. I mean, you're reading news, you're writing news, and you got to review it. The guy knew what he was doing, in other words. The station knew what it was doing. And they're getting what they were seeking, attention. That's all what it is. As they say, truth to power. They were seeking attention. And they got it. They got it. Oh boy. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's Office of Housing Counseling has announced that $10 million in grant funding is available now to eligible HUD-approved housing counseling agencies. The agencies are going to use the funds to prepare and equip prospective home buyers to successfully navigate the home buying process. The new funding is going to help HUD-approved housing counseling agencies provide culturally sensitive and linguistically appropriate services for pre and post purchase housing counseling, which aims to increase homeownership rates among historically underserved communities. The funding affirms the ongoing commitment of the Biden Harris administration to help close the racial wealth gap and address home buying barriers that disproportionately affect marginalized communities. That is according to the White House. Angela's not buying it. She says 10 million used on BS. But HUD did say, Angela, that they are committed to expanding access to home ownership, especially for those who have been shut out of home buying opportunities, as Secretary Fudge said, for far too long. In fact, Secretary Fudge is holding a media op with Black news outlets today. So we'll jump in on that meeting with the secretary today to talk about this. You know, the State of the Union is coming right up. It's tomorrow, in fact. And so all of these things are, I guess, they will be addressed further in the State of the Union address. We will see what happens tomorrow at the State of the Union. Could potentially be Joe Biden's last State of the Union address. He hopes that it's not, of course. He hopes that this State of the Union, they've been working so hard on this particular State of the Union. It's the certainly, if it's not his last right now, it is his most important. And so we will tune in as he walks through the hallowed halls of the House of Representatives and gives his view of his accomplishments and what's on tap for America. And he's also, several folks at the White House have said that he's also going to reiterate the accomplishments that they've made for African Americans and minorities during their 3 years in office. So we will see. We will see. And some good news to report this morning on the comedian and actor Sinbad. He says he has felt all the prayers directed his way since his debilitating stroke in 2020, and he is vowing to make a comeback. In a video posted on his verified Instagram account, the actor showed himself watching his recent appearance via Zoom with some of his fellow A Different World cast members. The cast of that show, of course, is on a 10-city tour of historically Black colleges and universities in celebration of A Different World, which was set at the fictional Hillman College. Sinbad showed up virtually at the first stop on February 29th at Atlanta University Center, which is home to Clark Atlanta University, Morehouse College, and Spelman. He says, quote, "Thank you for your prayers, support, and positive thoughts. They've carried me this far, and we will see me through to the finish line. It really is, he says, a different world out here. And then he expressed how cool it is to be able to participate in the tour and his surprise that the students even knew who he is. He says, thank you to everybody who's been praying for me and saying good things and supporting me during this time in my life. He, of course, played Coach Walter Oakes from 1987 to 1993. He says, it all means a lot to me. He says, some of you are going through what I'm going through, or even worse than me. I'm reading these things. He says, I'm going to try and answer as many as I can. He says, I pray for you and I understand what it's like. It's rough. And then he let his supporters know that they will be seeing more of him in the future. He says, you better believe it. Miracles happen, is what Sinbad said, to a rousing ovation. Yeah, it was October of 2020 when Sinbad suffered stroke. We had just had Sinbad on a program days earlier. In fact, that was his last media appearance before his situation. We had talked to him about a variety of things and his love of Comic-Con. And he wanted to participate in a virtual Comic-Con event that was coming up, and he was talking to us about it. And then next thing you know, I remember sending him an email and getting a response from his son saying that he was not well without uh, explaining what was happening. And then, of course, we later found out what had happened. So Sinbad is on the road to recovery. It's really great to see Coach Walter Oakes. Did him and what's her name? They ever get together in that show? You have to remind me. 'Cause they was an item, right? They were an item. So I wonder if they ever got together. Power 96 says, my son laughs at me when I watch the reruns of A Different World. He says, I laugh at him because he watched the Teletubbies. But yes, Sinbad is back. He's getting better, apparently a whole lot better than he was. Certainly, it's been a long 4 years for the comedian. And that is the good news that we're going to end this morning's program with. Continue to stay tuned to the Black Press and let it be known. Again, we invite you to subscribe to our YouTube page at LIBK-News. Let it be known news. Share your thoughts too. And we really appreciate you guys hanging in there with us as we continue to work to bring you some great things. And Dr. Nicole says, no, Jaleesa married Colonel Taylor. Oh, that's right. Oh, the Colonel moved in. The Colonel eased in. Wow. I do remember that. But folks, it's been real. We'll see you tomorrow.